Welcome back, my friends. Thanks for joining me for round 2 of my How to Deep Tissue series. In this video, we are going to be learning some techniques to release tension in the chest and shoulders, the arms, neck, and head. So if you are working with someone who deals with chronic neck and shoulder pain, headaches, TMJ, any kind of pain issues in the upper back and neck and shoulders, these techniques are going to be wonderful for relieving those symptoms. So go ahead and leave me a thumbs up on this video, leave your comments below, grab a friend, and let's get ready to practice. So to begin today, we are going to start with your partner lying on the back. And you can start by applying just a little bit of oil across the chest, the tops of the shoulders, and down the arms. So I will be showing you some techniques for the arms and hands, but for now we can just start with a light application of oil. It's great to come all the way up to the tops of the shoulders, and I like to scoop my fingers under the neck and gently lean back, applying a gentle traction. So it's important when we're doing deep tissue massage to start out slow. So we want to take a little time to warm up the body, practicing long, slow strokes as you apply the oil evenly across the skin. This is a chance for your partner to relax on the table, to get comfortable with your touch, and to start increasing the circulation and the blood flow, which of course is going to bring more oxygen and nutrients to the muscles as we release excess tension. So after warming up the chest and the arms and the neck, we can start to move into more specific work. So I like to loosen up the pecs and the chest, which often get tight as a result of chronic sitting, working on our smartphones and our computers. As we hunch forward frequently, the chest and shoulders become very tight and pulled forward. So I'm just practicing here, leaning into the heels of my hands, moving from the collarbone out towards the armpit, and using an alternating pressure from side to side. You can also turn your fingertips inward, pointing your fingers towards the sternum. And this is a great place to do a nice sustained stretch, pressing down and inferior. So I'm kind of pressing down towards the table and down towards the feet. So at a little bit of an angle, you can actually have a sustained moment of pressure here, which actually helps to stretch some of the connective tissue along the collarbones and inside the neck. And is also a great stretch for the pecs as well. I also like to come out to the shoulders and just knead the deltoids here. So it's another area that can kind of start to store and hold tension. So this is a great warming massage technique to start to loosen up the shoulders. Now we're going to move and work down one arm. So if you need to apply a little more oil, you can apply that all the way down the whole length of the arm. So just in the same fashion as our warm-up effleurage for the chest and the shoulders, We start with those long, broad strokes, bringing more circulation to the area, starting to relax those muscles. And once you've evenly distributed the oil across the skin, you can take a hold of the wrist and just gently lean back. This gives you an excellent fascia pull down the entire length of the arm, into the attachments of the shoulder, and even up into the neck. So this nice, easy, sustained traction. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to really light up the stretch, so you don't have to work too hard to have an effective stretch. Now, just moving a long effleurage stroke, I'm going to glide the heel of my hand from the top of her forearm all the way up the upper arm and across the top of the shoulder. You can hook your fingers around the base of the neck, glide your fingertips down and across the top of the trap, just slightly to the back of the shoulder. So we can repeat that action again. Gliding from the base of the wrist, across the top of the forearm, all the way up the upper arm, across the front of the chest and shoulder. You can glide your fingertips to the base of the skull, and traction down the neck and out across the top of the traps. And from here, you can bend your partner's elbow and take a hold of the wrist. I like to give just a little lift and a little wiggle. And this is a great way to determine if your partner is relaxed or not. Because if the arm doesn't really move, then they're still holding tension. So this rocking motion is a great way to encourage that relaxation deep in the shoulder and elbow joints. And once you feel they're relaxed, we'll just open the palm of the hand towards the sky. And everyone is going to have a different range of motion here, so just let it be comfortable for your partner. Then leading with the heel of your hand, we're going to start right alongside the sternum. Leaning in with your body weight, we're going to trace the line of the pec from the sternum all the way out and over the rhomboid, or over the deltoid. You can go all the way down to the table here. And then I'll follow that up, starting from the attachment right at the inside of the shoulder, and give a long stretching stroke along that inner arm, that inner bicep, and all the way out to the elbow. And you can even give a little stretch and tug at the elbow. So depending on the length of my massage, I like to repeat this 2 or 3 times if I can, starting from the sternum, tracing the line of the pec, following the deltoid, all the way down to the table. And you just want to make sure that you're not getting too pinchy here. You don't want to pinch their muscle. You just want to glide across the top of it. And leading from the inner arm all the way down to the elbow. And once you get to the elbow, you can give it just a little traction stretch. And after I repeat that a couple times, I'll kind of give them another wiggle and usually find that it's a little more relaxed than before. Now here's one of my favorite maneuvers. I'm going to take her wrist with my hand and step to the top of the table. Now the hand that's closest to her midline is going to hook elbows, and I'm gliding her arm alongside her head. So now I could basically go hands-free and I have control of her arm. But I'm going to use that free hand to continue holding onto her wrist just for a little support. From here, all I have to do is bend my knees and lean back my body weight. She's getting an excellent stretch into the shoulder joints. This is a wonderful way to loosen things up, just leaning your body weight back. Very easy work for you with a powerful effect. Now from this position, you have excellent access to the tricep. So you can come in and do some effleurage or petrissage here, just kneading that tricep. And if you come across any particular places that are tight, any knots that you notice, you can start to slow down and dial into those areas. But I like showing you these stretch techniques because the stretching techniques work from the inside out. So it allows you to get into that fascia, into the deep connective tissue with very little effort on your part. Now, of course, tension in the neck and chest is often related to tension in the upper back. So another excellent technique is to cross the arm over the chest, and I'm going to come all the way around to the opposite side of the table. I'm supporting her hand with my hand, and I can bring my opposite arm up and over, scooping underneath the shoulder blade. Lean back with your body weight. You get a nice stretch across the back of the shoulder, stretching behind the shoulder blade, and getting a little bit of movement through the rib cage as well. Gently let your partner come back to their back. We can walk back to the table, to the side of the table we're working on. Just gently glide the elbow back down. We'll take a little time to work the forearm, another area that can hold a lot of tension even if your partner or your client doesn't come to the table complaining of tension in the forearm and hands. It's an area that tension can commonly hide. So as I'm standing to the side of the table, I just put a knee up onto the table, and this will allow me to rest her hand onto my knee. And again, everyone's going to have a different range of motion. If my partner can't quite get their hand all the way down, I can always come up a little higher, which makes it more accessible so they can really relax. From here, I'm going to anchor her hand onto the top of my thigh, and now I can use the heel of my working hand and trace the line from her wrist down to the elbow. So this is a nice effleurage, slow, long stroke. You can repeat that as many times as you have time for. We can also incorporate some petrissage, some kneading, which feels really good, especially in this lower part of the forearm down near the elbow. It's where the muscles are a little more meaty. So it feels really nice to do some petrissage here. And this is a good chance for you to start to observe and notice if there's any tight spots or any knots that you notice. So we take the time to warm it up, survey the land. If you notice any particularly tight spots, we can start to come in with the thumbs and dial in, zeroing in on those tight spots. And whenever you're doing deeper work, I really encourage you to work slowly, because it can be really intense. It can be kind of confronting to receive that deep pressure. So the more you can work slowly, the more you can help your partner to relax into the massage. They can relax into that pressure. And of course, you can always encourage your partner to take some slow, deep breaths, letting them get deeper into that relaxation process. So after working the forearm, I like to work the hand a little bit. Another area that feels amazing to massage, but people don't often complain of tension in their hands, even though it's there. So from this position with the elbow bent, you can stack the wrist over the elbow. That allows you to flex the hand open and get a great stretch here. So one thing I like to do is go palm to palm. I'm hooking my fingers on her wrist to keep her hand flexed, and then glide my hand out to her fingertips, stretching the whole palm open. So this allows for a stretch across the palm of the hand as well as the wrist, and sometimes even down into the forearm, depending on, where the tension might be hiding. So a nice stretch into the palm of the hand. You can then come in with your thumbs, doing some circular motions, some kneading across the tops of the like the joints of the fingers, kind of into the ball of the hand. You can massage into the center of the palm or out to the edges. And you can sometimes come across knots or really tight places inside the hand as well. So you can start to zero in on those tight points. But bearing in mind that the connective tissue and the ligaments in the hands is not very vascular. It doesn't get a lot of circulation in there. The muscles are not very stretchy. So it takes some time, and it can have a lot of trigger points or like real tender, sensitive areas in the hand. So just be mindful that you're working slow and steady. And just checking in with your partner. If they're experiencing pain or discomfort, you'll see it on their face. So you can always check in and see, how are we doing? And of course, I like to flex the palm down, doing some long massage strokes across the top of the hand. This is an area that's often neglected or forgotten about. So you will get extra brownie points from your clients when you take time to massage across the top of the hand and the top of the wrist. Then we can round it out with another traction pull, stretching the entire length of the arm. You can release your partner's hand back to the table, and we can come back around to the top of the head. Now, before I move to the second side, I like to take a moment in center, bringing the heels of my hands across the tops of her shoulders. You can alternate right to left, stretching the tops of the traps and the attachments at the neck. And glide your fingertips under the neck, and making a slow, steady traction. Glide your fingers up to the base of the skull. Get a little hook under there at the occipital ridge, and you can lean back, creating a traction pull for the entire length of the spine with specific pressure where it's needed, right at the base of the head. So we can do a brief recap, working on the second side. So you can get a little extra oil as needed, and start by applying that effleurage, nice long steady strokes, distributing the oil across the whole arm and even down into the hand. Warming up, improving circulation, and moisturizing the skin. So we started off with our long effleurage from the wrist, all the way up the shoulder, gliding all the way up across the chest. You can come around and scoop your fingers to the back of the neck and glide your fingertips down across the top of the trap there. So you can repeat that stroke as many times as you have time for. And then we can bend your partner's elbow, take a hold of the wrist, and just give our arm a little shake. Sometimes I'll even give a little support at the elbow if I feel like it needs a little help relaxing. Then coming around to the top of the table, we'll hook the opposite arm, elbow to elbow. Then you have support for the arm. You're going to glide that arm alongside your partner's head. Now, still holding on at the wrist, I'm going to bend my knees and lean back. So it's very little work for me. I'm just using my body weight to lean back and create this nice stretch. And then this gives me open access to the tricep. You can come in and do your petrissage, kneading the tricep. And of course, you may come across some tight spots that you want to zero in on, taking your time, working from superficial to deep, being patient as you go. And we can move into that supported twist, crossing your partner's arm over their chest. You'll come to the opposite side of the table, supporting the hand with my hand. Then I'll reach that opposite arm across. Gently hooking my fingers around her shoulder blade gives me a great leverage point. Again, I'm just leaning back. So even though I'm a small girl, I can do this technique on a large man because I'm using my body weight, not my muscle strength. Gently glide your partner back to center, and you can help relax their arm all the way back down to the table. And this is a great spot to come to the side of the table, put up a knee, and let their hand relax here. And you can work the forearm here, doing that long effleurage stroke. You have the opportunity to do petrissage, and even start to zero in with some deeper, more specific work. Once you feel complete working the forearm, we can move our attention to the hand. You may give your partner one more little shake just to make sure they're relaxed. And then stacking the wrist over the elbow, you have an opportunity to leverage the palm open. Going palm to palm, supporting at the wrist, reach the fingertips open wide, giving a nice good stretch across the palm and the wrist. And using your thumbs, you can massage circles through the whole hand. You can work the pad around the heel of the thumb or around that outer edge of the hand, across the knuckle mounds, across the inner arch of the palm, and then flip the hand down, massaging across the top of the hand as well. And of course, you've got your nice traction pull, just holding onto the wrist, gently lean back, give them a stretch. And you can let the hand down. So once you've completed your work on both arms, we can take a little bit of time to loosen up any tension in the neck. Bringing the heels of your hand back to the tops of the shoulders. You can always come back to that alternating movement, just leaning your weight side to side, massaging across the top of the shoulders, which is also going to give a little stretch along the side of the neck. Then we'll scoop your fingertips under, gliding your fingertips to the base of the head, and just gently leaning back. Now let's scoop one hand under the head and gently roll your partner's head into your hand. You just want to make sure that the hair is gently scooped out of the way. So we don't want to pull anybody's hair. You want it to feel as comfortable as possible. And with the neck rotated to the side, you see we have a whole lot of accessibility that opens up here. You have the SCM, which is what can come up, and if it's tight, it can contribute to headache tension. It can contribute to tension in the jaw and TMJ. So this is a nice area. We can just follow that line of the SCM, sternocleidomastoid, for all you anatomy folks out there. And this guy can be sensitive and loaded with trigger points. So again, as with all of our deep tissue techniques, we want to start superficial and work your way deep. You can use your thumb or you could use your finger pads, creating a more broad pressure. Now, of course, you also have the three sisters, the scalenes. 1, 2, 3, coming up directly along the side of the neck. So these three work together to create massive tension and support our head and all kinds of good things, but it can get very tight in there. So I like to use these three fingers almost like placing my fingers on piano keys, just right side by side. You can glide your fingertips up towards the base of the skull. And back down. So even though I'm using a pretty firm pressure here, this is still kind of counting as an effleurage. I'm doing these long, slow strokes, and I'm using it as an opportunity to kind of take an inventory of what's going on in the neck. And I come across some tight places, I make a mental note, okay, I feel it there, and there, great. So now I know where I need to zero in and do some deeper work. So you can start to come in with your thumb, just gently, comfortably resting your fingers behind the neck. I'm just taking it one moment at a time. You can make little circles, or slowly begin to use your thumb to press into those tight areas. And again, we want to be careful around the neck because this is an area that can have a lot of trigger points. It can be a trigger for headaches. It can be a trigger for migraines. So we want to work the area, but it's important to be mindful about the amount of pressure that you're using so that you're able to get the deep release that you're looking for without causing the body to recoil in pain or discomfort. So it's a fine line that we walk doing deep tissue massage. You want to dance on the edge without taking it too far. And how do you know you've taken it too far? Your partner's body is going to respond and let you know. If it flinches or clenches or resists against you, that's a pretty good indicator that you're going to want to back off and use a little less pressure. So once you've worked the scalenes, you can come back along the side of the trap. The trapezius comes all the way up and attaches at the base of the skull. So it's a pretty big muscle. We want to work that all the way up into the base of the skull. And now once you come into those occipital connections, you can broaden your fingers apart and begin to make gentle circles. Now, I'm not necessarily gliding across her skin here. And that's important to note because you've got all these tiny little baby hairs and we don't want to pull those hairs. So it's better to just land your fingers where they're going to be. Don't try to glide across the surface of the skin, but rather deepen your pressure, make contact with the muscles below the surface, and circulate and mobilize those muscles. So we're not pulling the hair, we're not gliding across the skin, but we're still getting a very deep access into areas that can be quite tight and need a lot of attention. And once you complete this work on one side, I like to just scoop my supporting fingers underneath the head, bring my working hand to the top of the shoulder, and give it a good stretch. So I'm pressing the shoulder down and away as I'm using my supporting hand to kind of pull against that stretch. And remember, stretching is such a powerful way to get a deep result with very little effort on your part as a practitioner. And when you're ready, you can move to the second side by just scooping your hand behind the head and just nice and easy, roll your partner's head into your other hand. So we've got the work at the top of the shoulder that you can do here. You can glide your fingertips along the back of the neck up to the base of the skull. You have a nice open access to the SCM. You can glide your thumb from the top to the bottom. And you may come across some trigger points there, so be sure to give it some time to discover what's going on and work your way slowly into the area. Then you have the three sisters, scalenes, 1, 2, 3, coming right along the side of the neck. We want to place those fingertips, and it's almost like raking. I mean, it doesn't sound that nice, but that's kind of the motion. We're raking or gliding the fingers up and down across those scalenes and taking some notes, becoming aware. What do I feel below my finger pads? I feel, oh, a little spot there feels tight. Oh, another one right there. Okay, I feel that too. So now with this information, I'm equipped to go in with my thumb and start to do a little more precision work. Starting to hone in on exactly where I noticed that tension. Starting with some short strokes with the thumb, and then you'll eventually kind of land right on the gold mine. And that's where you can put your easy sustained pressure. And of course you can glide your fingertips along the back of the trap there, gliding all the way up into the base of the skull. And that occipital ridge is another hideout point for tension and pain. So you can place your finger pads into that occipital ridge, connecting with the tissue below the surface and circulating that tissue around. So I'm making circles with my fingers here. And once you complete your work on both sides, gently roll your partner's head back to center. And I've actually landed with my fingers of both hands, kind of cradling either side of the occipital ridge, cradling her head. So this is a great point for a traction pull. So I'm hooking my fingers into the occipital ridge. Again, you can lean your body weight back, making it as simple on yourself as possible. Giving it that nice, steady traction. And release as you're ready. And I like to finish these types of massages with a nice little head and scalp massage, because again, sometimes this deep tissue work can be uncomfortable. It's not always pleasant, even though it feels better in the end. So it's kind of nice to finish on a pleasurable note with a good scalp massage. Kind of bring your partner back into the yummy, relaxing, good feelings of having your head massaged. And at the end of all of my sessions, I like to just pause, placing my hands on my partner's head. And just taking a couple of moments to feel gratitude and appreciation, and just feel the energy flowing between myself and my partner. And this is a great time to put a close or put a period on the end of the experience. And then slowly separate And this is a great time to kind of do some energy clearing. I kind of cut the cords between my energy field and my partner's energy field, leaving them complete and whole unto themselves. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you've enjoyed learning these techniques, and I'd love to give a special thanks to my good friend Maurissa Lynn for offering her body for our educational purposes today. Maressa is an empowerment and sensuality guide. You can learn more about her work on Facebook and on lighttribeyoga.com. Have a wonderful day, and I will look forward to seeing you in part 3.